Have you read The Real Anthony Fauci by Robert Kennedy Jr.? If so, what are your thoughts? Could things really be as bad and corrupt as the book claims? Thank you. Yes, I have. Yes, Brett has. Could things really be as bad and corrupt as the book claims? I'm afraid so. That was a tough book to read. Really, really hard. And one of the things I did as I read it was just spot checked the references. It is incredibly well referenced, as anyone who's held the book in their hands knows. If you just listen to it, you don't necessarily know that. But if you have it in your hands, it's typeset in a way that's it's actually a little hard to read because it's so jam-packed. Like the margins are tiny and it's just so jam-packed with references. So I didn't look at even 1 in 25 of those references, but every now and again, I would look at one that struck me as unusual or unlikely, or I did occasionally do a haphazard, like I'm just okay, let's check this one and see if it is what he claims. And I didn't, doing that, which was, again, haphazard, I didn't find any errors, right? So it's incredibly well referenced, and a haphazard assessment of the references that back up the claims that he makes were valid. It is an extraordinary, what's the opposite of vindication?
Indictment.
Indictment. It's an extraordinary indictment of much of the modern medical and public health and pharmaceutical system, the likes about which we've been talking for 2.5 years and about which many people besides Robert Kennedy Jr. have been talking about. And I have also, the silence with which the book was met was remarkable. I haven't heard anyone contest anything in the book. Probably some of that exists, but I haven't seen it. And certainly what seemed to be the response, maybe organized, maybe not, was ignore this, it will go away.
The other thing to say is if you look at what we actually do understand, what the evidence actually suggests about our COVID response, it is the inverse of the right response. The inverse is a very unlikely thing to settle upon unless complete corruption is the explanation. Right? It is possible to get a random response through incompetence. It is not possible to get the inverse of a good response. And so the portrait painted by the book is consistent with a system that misled, in the US, a system that misled 300 million people about the right way to respond to this virus and the nature of the virus. And so anyway, that kind of check also suggests a very dire situation. Yep,
that's all true. I will say, it's been a while, and I have notes. I'm not going to go into them now, but there are a couple of points. One of them middling, one of them small, where I thought it wasn't quite right. But they were not on primary points of the book. And again, I was reading it with as critical an eye as I could. It's very long. It's very dense. But I think maybe one was the characterization of the germ theory of disease, which I just didn't find quite as careful as it might have been. But I think that was the larger of the two. And again, it was just a characterization of a way of approaching how we understand medicine and science, rather than a claim of fact. None of the claims of fact that I tried to fact check proved to be wrong.
I cannot recall. There was one bit in it that I thought was slightly was beyond what the evidence actually suggested.
Okay.
And
it's been some months at this point.
I can't quite put it back together. But let's just say the book is so encyclopedic that the idea, it has an error, it's got a claim that's too strong.
How could it not?
Right.
That's no excuse, but a book this comprehensive and that had to have been written so quickly is going to have some places that are not quite a perfect match.
Given how much is in it, the fact that it almost entirely checks out is really quite extraordinary.
Yeah.